Hello, and welcome to the BS Trivia Show. I am your co-host, Brendan, and I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Sam.
Yeah, Sam, that's your line there. So BS stands for Brendan and Sam. Obviously, you don't really care too much about what we've got to say right now because let's just jump into what the game is. It's a game of bar-style trivia, 4 standard rounds, a music round, all with 8 questions. Each question is worth 1 point, except for the music round, which is worth 2 points for each question, 1 for the song title and 1 for the artist. Finally, we have our BS section, which stands for bonus and stuff. This will contain a question worth 2 points for a grand total of 50 points. And then Sam and I talk about some stuff. Sam and I like to think we're pretty interesting. Sam, would you say you're an interesting person?
I would say on a scale from most interesting person to the least interesting person in the world, I'm not quite, a mainstream Hollywood actor, but I would be willing to bet that I beat anyone that works in insurance. Looking at you, most of the people that listen to this that work in insurance,
I was going to
love
say
you,
that.
Brian.
That feels like a very directed call out. Well, anyways, yeah. So Sam and I will talk about ourselves a little bit. Other than that, there's pretty much not more else to it. So I'm up for the first this week. Oh, we should definitely address the other thing. We're changing formats.
Oh yeah, the dates. You may have noticed that we're late.
Yeah, you may have noticed the last 2 episodes were late, this one and the one before. We are moving to a bi-weekly format. Lot of life changes going on for me and Sam, both very busy people. Like we said, we're interesting. So it kind of, based on that, we had to move schedules a little bit.
We also want to be making a quality product for you guys, and so we want to take our time, make sure we're getting our questions the best we can, make sure the editing's the best we can. So we're doing it both for ourselves so that this is reasonable and doesn't destroy our lives, but also for you guys because we love you guys and we want to make a good product.
Sorry if you look forward to this every week. Please understand, Sam and I do not make money off of this currently. We're hoping to eventually, though. So with that being said, let's jump into round 1. Sam, how do you feel about space?
Well, when people ask for it, usually I've offended them pretty bad, but I think that this is about the actual outer space, so I'm feeling okay. But if it's you asking for space, I will need to call my therapist.
What if it's about race? I'm cutting that part out. How do you feel about the space race?
I feel all right. I mean, I think the U.S. won, but maybe I'll learn we didn't. Who knows?
You will not learn we didn't, because we definitely did, because we got to the finish line first, and that's what wins you races, is getting to the finish line first. So the finish line was landing on the moon, for anyone that's asking. Let's jump into it. We've got 8 questions here about the space race. It's some pretty interesting stuff. I actually learned some things while putting this round together. So let's see how Sam does, getting into it with question 1. What was the name of the Soviet satellite that launched the space race? Question 2. Who was the first man in space? Question 3. Which Apollo mission gave us the famous Earthrise photograph? Question 4. What actor who's played everything from a panda to a miner is the child of Judith Love Cohen, who was crucial to the development of the abort guidance system, which helped to save the Apollo 13 mission? Question 5. Only one astronaut flew on both the Mercury missions and walked on the moon. Who is he? Question 6. What German scientist was responsible for the design of the Saturn series of rockets that eventually carried the astronauts to the moon? Question 7. Being an astronaut takes a lot of preparation. What organization were all 12 men who walked on the moon part of, taking to heart their motto of "Be prepared"? And finally, question 8. Which president promised that America would land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth before the end of the 1960s? Or in his words, before the decade is out? Give you a few seconds to come down from orbit as you wrap up your answers there. So, Sam, how do you feel? Feeling pretty good?
This is around. I haven't felt this iffy about a round in a while. I'm gonna say I went maybe 4 or 5 of 8. So,
Do you feel like you're on the moon?
I feel like I missed the moon, and I just might hit the stars.
Nice. Good. We'll hope you did. All right, let's jump into those answers. So, the Soviet satellite that launched the space race is, of course, Sputnik. Sputnik, just a satellite, and we went, we don't like that that's up there, and we decided that we were going to launch a bunch of stuff after it. So, kind of launched everything, started it all. Getting to question 2, speaking of a lot of technology used to launch one guy, who was the first man in space? That was Yuri Gagarin. Yuri Gagarin, a Soviet. He was both the first man in space and the first man to orbit the Earth. So pretty impressive. That guy lived a heck of a life. And he was also Russian, so definitely a heck of a life. Getting into question 3, which Apollo mission gave us the famous Earthrise photograph? That was Apollo 8. So that mission just circled the moon before returning back to Earth. Didn't actually touch down, but it was a really good reconnaissance mission. We learned a lot about kind of the surface of the moon and what it would take to land people there. All right. Question 4, the fun kind of pop culture one. But this actor played everything from a panda to a miner named Steve. He is the child of Judith Love Cohen, who created the abort guidance system that helped save the Apollo 13 mission that Tom Hanks was on. And I think they've been in a movie together. That's Jack Black. Have Jack Black and Tom Hanks ever been in a movie together? Not that Tom Hanks was actually on the Apollo 13 mission, but he was in the movie Apollo 13. So
I don't believe they've been in the same movie. That you should leave this in because I would love for someone to tell us if they know that off the top of their head.
The only thing I can think it might be is Toy Story. If Jack Black ever voiced a Toy Story character, because he's done a lot of voice acting work, but I can't think of him in Toy Story at any point.
Tom Hanks wasn't in Jumanji.
On to question 5. The only astronaut who flew on both the Mercury missions and walked on the moon on the Apollo missions is Alan Shepard. Alan Shepard, definitely a legendary astronaut, right up there with Neil himself and everyone involved in the Apollo missions. Up next is question 6. This German scientist was responsible for the design of the Saturn series of rockets. That is Wernher von Braun. Wernher von Braun, I believe, think he was a Nazi. Womp womp. Wernher von Braun helped design the Saturn series of rockets. I've seen Saturn V in person. Holy cow. What a huge piece of machinery. It's giant. Definitely worth seeing. Head down to the Kennedy Space Center. It's pretty impressive. Question 7. Being an astronaut takes a lot of preparation. What organization were all 12 men who walked on the moon part of? Taking to heart their motto of "Be prepared." An organization that I myself was part of. That is the Boy Scouts of America. All 12 men who have walked on the moon were Eagle Scouts, much like myself. Pretty cool fun fact. If you're an Eagle Scout listening to this, you have something in common with all 12 guys who've walked on the moon. Not a lot of people can say that. And finally, question 8. Which president promised that America would land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth before the end of the 1960s? That is John F. Kennedy. That's a pretty great speech if you've never watched it. And then, of course, he was assassinated in 1964. 5 years later, in 1969, we landed a man on the moon. So we did keep our promise to President Kennedy, which is pretty cool. Sam, how did you do?
I went 4 of 8.
4 of 8, pretty much exactly what you called. Not bad. What did you miss?
I missed the first man in space. I said Apollo 10 instead of 8. And then I said Buzz Aldrin. It just don't have enough men on the moon on my mind. And then I missed the German. I got Van. I went Van, but
fair
wasn't right.
Who did you put for first man in space? Did you put anything? Or just
put John Smith.
John Smith. Russian citizen John Smith. 4 out of 8 for our first round. Let's see if I can step it up with Sam's round. This is Sam's pick round. Sam, what did you pick?
Well, Brendan, I know what we're going to do today. and that's a Phineas and Ferb round.
Woo! Phineas and Ferb!
Get pretty excited.
I'm so excited.
So, Phineas and Ferb, I decided to do this round in honor of my brother-in-law, Frankie. Big Phineas and Ferb fan. New season just dropped on Disney+. I've seen some of the episodes. They're pretty good.
I haven't watched it yet. I forgot that was out now. I thought I had more time.
Don't worry, none of those will be referenced in this. This will be classic Phineas and Ferb.
I would not do well if it was any of those.
All right. Brendan, you feeling pretty confident?
I'm feeling decently confident. This is a show I watched a lot, especially when it was on Netflix. When you're homeschooled, surprise, surprise, you have a lot of time to watch TV shows. So I don't make this a socialized thing. I had friends, and my friends watched Phineas and Ferb too.
And one of the shows you're allowed to watch in homeschool is Phineas and Ferb.
Yes. I wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob, but I was allowed to watch Phineas and Ferb because it was semi-educational.
Well, we do ask a question about another animated series in this, so hope you're ready for that one. But let's start off with question 1. On what continent would you find platypuses? Question number 2. What pop-punk band wrote the theme song for Phineas and Ferb? Question number 3. What country is Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz from? Question number 4. In the first episode of Phineas and Ferb, what do we see them build? Question number 5. Dave Povenmire and Jeff Swampy Marsh came up for the characters while working on what show, which happens to be the longest-running American animated series? Question number 6. What actress, known for her roles in other Disney media like High School Musical and The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, voices Candace? Question number 7. What year, known for the launch of the first iPhone and Spider-Man 3, did Phineas and Ferb debut in? Question number 8. Which members of Phineas and Ferb's 5-member family are biologically related to each other? Give you a few seconds to wrap up your answers. Search around for where you find the platypuses. All right, Brendan, how did you do?
I think I went 8 of 8. Pretty
go.
sure I went 8 of 8. Maybe
Let's
7.
see if you did. Starting with question number 1. What continent would you find platypuses? So that would be Australia. You could say Australia and Oceania, or you could just say Australia. I will accept either answer. They're found on the east part of Australia. Also, side note, anyone who says the plural is platypi, unfortunately you are wrong. The plural is platypuses. While platypi is somewhat used, it is less common and not the preferred because platypus is of Greek origin, not Latin. And so when you use pi, that's a Latin plural versus platypuses is the Greek. So for anyone that corrected me on the trivia podcast, no, you're wrong. I found it. I'm right. Question number 2. What pop punk band wrote the theme song for Phineas and Ferb? That would be honestly one of my favorite bands, Bowling for Soup. Fun fact, their lead singer, Jared Riddick, voiced the lead singer of Love Handle, Danny. The other 2 members were not voiced by Bowling for Soup. They were voiced by other normal actors.
The guy who voiced the drummer is Swampy. It's Jeff Swampy Marsh, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I can't remember who does... So. I don't think Dan does the bassist, but I can't remember who does the bassist.
It's the dad from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. What's his name? I'll pull it up.
But just to give everyone a heads up for a future episode, next time I pick music trivia, I am going to do covers or mashups, and Bowling for Soup has several. So keep that in mind for later. They've got some really good covers, some really good different kind of remixes and parodies. So big fan of Bowling for Soup. Love giving them a shout out. They also did the Jimmy Neutron theme. Fun fact.
New fun fact in doing research about Steve Zahn, the voice of the bassist. The drummer's nickname in the show is Swampy. So yeah, it's definitely Swampy.
Question number 3. What country is Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz from? Arguably one of our harder questions. The country would be Drusselstein.
No.
And the town he is from would be Gimmelstump. If you got the town, you get a bonus nerd point.
I get the bonus nerd point. I don't get the real point because I wrote Gimmelstump. I forgot. I even said in my head, it's Drusselstein. But no, Drusselstein is the town. No, Gimmelstump.
Drusselstein is the country.
Drusselstein is the country. Gimmelstump is the town. Back when he was a lawn gnome with his neighbor Kenny.
His parents also weren't there for his birth.
No. Or any of his birthdays.
But you know what we were there for? The first episode of Phineas and Ferb, which we saw them build, the answer to question number 4, a roller coaster. And then there's a part 2 of that episode where they deface Mount Rushmore. But we're looking for roller coaster. If you said they defaced Mount Rushmore with a giant head of Candace next to the president, we'll count it because it's kind of fun. It technically is in the first episode, but we were looking for roller coaster. This was back when TV shows would do 2 parts to their episodes. I don't actually know if they do that anymore. I don't watch new cartoons. I just watch old ones that make me feel young on the inside.
Yeah.
That's enough about feeling young. Let's feel old, because guess what? Question number 5, Dave Povenmire and Jeff Swampy Marsh came together for the characters while working on what show, which happens to be the longest-running American animated series. So that series, debuting in 1989, would be The Simpsons.
1989? That's crazy.
It is the longest-running American animated series, the longest-running American sitcom, and the longest-running American scripted primetime television series. I did that all in one take. That's a lot of words. So they also, fun fact, one of them directed a bunch of seasons of Family Guy in the beginning of the 2000s. They also both worked on Rocko's Modern Life. They worked together on a lot of things, but they first met writing and animating for The Simpsons together. 1989. That's old. Less old. Question number 6. What actress known for her roles in other Disney media, like High School Musical and The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, voicing Candace? That would be Ashley Tisdale.
I bopped to the top on that one.
Question number 7.
Oh, we're not going to
Question number
acknowledge that?
7.
That was a banger. What are we doing?
We're going to cut me laughing at you. Question number 7. What year, known for the launch of the first iPhone and Spider-Man 3, did Phineas and Ferb debut in? That would be 2007. And finally, question number 8. Which member of Phineas and Ferb's family are biologically related to each other? The answer for this is the mom, Linda, is Phineas and Candace's biological mom, and then Lawrence, the dad, is Ferb's dad. There's no relation biologically other than that. I didn't ask you for the names. I just asked for who's related to who. Now, if you didn't get any of the children's names, then I'm a little concerned with how you knew the right answer, but not Phineas, Ferb, or Candace.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
I thought it's a pretty cool fact that they're not actually related. They're stepbrothers. They're considered, according to some lists, the most iconic brothers in fiction. I don't necessarily agree with that. I would go with, the Hardy Boys or some of those other older classics. But I do think they're very cool. It's a really wholesome TV show. Hope you guys did well. Brendan, did you go? You went 7 of 8.
I went 7 of 8. I missed the. I put Gimmelstump. That was the only one I got wrong. I was a little nervous about The Simpsons because I was like, I know it's the longest running, but I know that Dan Povenmire also worked on Family Guy. Other than that, I went perfect. That was a good run. That was a lot of fun. We said before that it's very reminiscent of the Scooby-Doo round, and it did feel that way, and I thought that was great because the Scooby-Doo round is one of my personal favorites that we've ever done. So this is going up there. Two bangers for you there, Sam. So speaking of bangers, let's jump into our music round. Our music round this week is called Featuring Who? It's famous, uncredited features. These are a list of 8 songs that have a famous artist featured on them. They're all famous songs in their own right, but someone else was featured on them and was not credited in some way, whether that was, they played a guitar somewhere or they sang backing vocals in some way. Or maybe they were featured more predominantly and just were never credited. Now, Sam, I can see you laughing. You seem stressed. I'm going to give you this. You don't have to get who is featured. You just have to get the song title and the artist title, the main credited artist. For nerd bonus points, you can get the feature. I know for a fact one of them you will, at least I hope you get. I won't be disappointed, but I'll be a little surprised. So anyways, let's jump into this with song 1.
Hell, I pay the price. All I want is to be left alone in my average home. But why do I always feel like I'm in the twilight zone? And
Song 2. Song 3.
look at you all, see the love that's sleeping.
Song 4.
What's wrong with the world, mama? People living like they ain't got no mamas. I think the whole world's addicted to the drama, only attracted to things that'll bring the trauma.
Song 5.
You walked into the party like you were walking onto a yacht.
Song 6. Song 7.
It's just the flame, the butcher just to keep you in. Say,
Song 8.
Feeling my way through the darkness.
Give you a few seconds there to wrap up your answers. All right, Sam, how do you feel? Not great. There were some tough ones on that list. But let's jump into those answers, starting with song 1, which is Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell, featuring an uncredited Michael Jackson.
I always feel like somebody's watching me, and I have no privacy.
So you can really hear it there, obviously, on the chorus. That's usually what a lot of people think of when they first hear, like, oh, uncredited artist. You know, the first one they always go to is Michael Jackson on Somebody's Watching Me. So let's jump into song 2, which was another Michael Jackson song, actually. It's Beat It by Michael Jackson, featuring Eddie Van Halen on the solo. So I'm going to play the song clip, and then I'm going to play the solo for you, because you deserve to hear both. And now here's the solo. Obviously, I can't play the whole thing, but that's pretty good. That's a pretty good part of it. My dad always likes to joke that that's why Prince was the real king of pop, is because he did his own guitar solos and didn't need Eddie Van Halen to do it for him. But in my opinion, if you can get Eddie Van Halen to do a guitar solo for you, you should get Eddie Van Halen to do a guitar solo for you. Song number 3, speaking of guitar solos, is While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles, featuring Eric Clapton on guitar. Now, this whole song just is incredible on the guitar, so unfortunately I can't play too much of it for you, but definitely go give it a listen if you like guitar, or if you just, you love good music. This song is great the whole way through.
While my guitar gently weeps.
All right, and on to question 4. That is Where Is the Love by the Black Eyed Peas, featuring Justin Timberlake. So Justin Timberlake does the majority of the chorus, actually. Fergie doesn't come in until the very end. So you'll hear a little bit of him here before the rest of the group takes over.
Where is the love? Where is the love?
That's another good song. I was listening to it, getting ready for this round, and I was like, man, this is a great song. On to question 5, which is You're So Vain by Carly Simon, featuring an uncredited Mick Jagger on harmonies. I don't know if you can hear it super well in this clip, but if you listen closely, you can pick up on it at certain points in the song.
You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you.
And there are some theories that the song was about Mick Jagger. Speaking of Mick Jagger, obviously the frontman of the Rolling Stones, that leads into our next song, which is Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones, featuring Mary Clayton. She's the female vocalist on this song. Incredible powerhouse vocalist. Probably one of the best, uncredited performances I've ever heard. Probably just one of the best vocal performances I've ever heard. So definitely recommend giving this whole song a listen if you never have. Great piece of rock history. And next up is song 7. So kind of backtracking a little bit. This is Fame by David Bowie featuring a Beatle, John Lennon. So John Lennon and David Bowie were working together in the studio. They were working on this song. And if you listen closely, you can hear that little high pitch aim. That's John Lennon's voice. So yeah, you can hear it in that clip pretty well. Pretty interesting. I did not know that he was on that song. And then finally, number 8 is Wake Me Up by Avicii featuring Aloe Black. Now, I believe on Spotify, Aloe Black is now credited on that song. But on the initial release, I verified this several places, he was not credited as a featuring artist. It was just Wake Me Up by Avicii. So let's give that a listen.
So wake me up when it's all over.
So, Sam, how did you end up doing?
Poorly.
Do you want to elaborate?
5 out of 16.
Hey, that's better than last time. That's a 1-point improvement. So what'd you get?
I feel worse. I got Somebody's Watching Me, but for some reason I thought it was by The Police, and I felt really confident about that. And I don't know why.
I had a similar round in a trivia that I was playing. It was an all music trivia, and they did the same round with some of the same songs. And I could not think of Rockwell for the life of me. We were all racking our brains. We turn in our scorecard, come back to our table, and one of my friends goes, "It's Rockwell." And we all joke, "Man, why couldn't we think of that 5 minutes ago?" No blame for missing that one.
The ones I got right fully were Beat It by Michael Jackson and Wake Me Up by Avicii.
Nice. Did you get that was featuring Aloe Black? Just for the nerd points?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I did get Somebody Watching Me featuring MJ, but that's the
that's
the obvious one.
He's more well known than Rockwell. No offense to Rockwell. Great song. When you get Michael Jackson uncredited on your song, it's going to end up being Michael Jackson's song. It's an unfortunate truth. But all right, that's 5 of 16. Pretty good. Respectable. That leads into my next round. Speaking of music, kind of Apple Music maybe. My pick was Apple products. So we're going to be talking about kind of the history of Apple products. We're going to go through release order. So from the start of Apple all the way to the end of, or the current day of Apple, not the end. We are far away from the end of Apple, seeing as how Sam and I text to plan the show on iPhones and then keep score on iPads, and then I edit some of this on a MacBook. I think we've got a long time. But let's jump into it. Sam, do you know Apple products? How well do you know your Apple history?
His products, I think I'll do okay. History, I'm not too confident, but we'll see how it goes.
What about a history of products?
Maybe. I don't know. I'll write it using my Apple Pencil, though.
Nice. That's a great segue into question 1. First introduced on April 11th, 1976, this was the first device ever designed by Apple, which was a simple 8-bit personal computer that could connect to a monitor and keyboard, rather than having its own terminal like a lot of devices at the time. What was this device called? Question 2. Released January 24th, 1984, what was the name of the first compact device that Apple released, which had a display integrated with the case, but no mouse and keyboard like a standard terminal? What familiar name did they call this product? Question 3. In the same year they introduced the Macintosh Portable, Apple released this product, a notebook-sized laptop, in October of 1991, which launched a successful foray... which launched a successful foray into portable computing that Apple is known for today. What was it called? Question 4. Released in August 1998, this was the first Apple product to use the I name and was a successor to the all-in-one compact devices Apple had become known for in the 80s. What was its name? Question 5. In 1999, Apple made their next advancements into laptop computers with this next I-themed device, with a clamshell design and geared towards entry-level consumers in the education market. What do they call this line of products? Question 6. In 2001, this line of products was introduced and changed the way people listen to music to this day. What was the first iteration of this legendary product called? Question 7. On Valentine's Day 2006, Apple replaced their PowerBook line of computers with this sleeker family of devices that is still in use today. What was its first generation called? And finally, question 8. This line of devices that put Apple in the world's pocket was announced by Steve Jobs on January 9th, 2007. This stylusless product took the world by storm and is now a household name. What was it called? Give you a few seconds to wrap up your answer. Maybe ask Siri for some help if you want to. So, Sam, how do you feel about that round?
Not great, but not bad. I'm thinking another 4 or 5 of 8.
Okay. Yeah, some of those early ones were tough. I myself don't think I would have done well on a lot of those early questions. So let's jump into those answers and see how you did. Question 1, first introduced on April 11th, 1976. The first device ever designed by Apple was the, simply enough, Apple I. It was just their Apple I computer. They shortly after released the Apple II, and then in 1977, the Apple I was discontinued. It's literally, like, I looked on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is my source, bite me. It's literally just a motherboard. It's a very simple little 8-bit processor. So getting a little more advanced, January 24th, 1984, question 2. This was, of course, the Macintosh. The Macintosh 128K. If you just put Macintosh, I'll take that. The first iteration was the 128K. They had some future ones that went up in numbers. Question 3. So earlier in 1991, they released the Macintosh Portable. Later, they released the PowerBook. The PowerBook 100 to be exact. And similarly to the Macintosh, those numbers go up. So the first one was the 100. If you just put PowerBook, no problems. Question 4, released in August 1998. This was the first Apple product to use the I name. That is, of course, the original iMac, which is actually a product line that they still produce today. But this was the iMac G3. You know, it was a pretty successful line of products for them. On to question 5. Speaking of the whatever. We've got 3 more of those to go throughout these answers. This is the next advancement in their laptop lines. This was their economy class product. That is the iBook. The iBook. Also the G3. So the iMac was the G3 and then the iBook is the G3. Those came out within a year of each other. That was their next iteration of laptops. 2 years later, in 2001, they released another i product, probably the most famous of them all, as far as like advancing technology. So the answer to question number 6 is the iPod. The iPod, first gen to be exact, but if you just put iPod, no big deal. On to question 7, Valentine's Day of 2006. Very nice because I love mine. That is the replacement for the PowerBook line. That is the MacBook, specifically the MacBook Pro. The 15-inch came out on February 14th. The 17-inch version came out in April. And then I believe the next year is when the MacBook Air launched.
Will you accept just MacBook?
I will accept just MacBook, yes. Just MacBook is a good enough answer. On to question 8. Probably the easiest one of the bunch because most of you are probably listening to this on Bluetooth, streaming to your car or your AirPods. That is The line of devices that put Apple in the world's pocket. The iPhone. The iPhone. I love mine. It's great. It does everything I need it to do most of the time. Takes great photos. Takes good videos. Can text people. Man, they really hit it out of the park with this one. Samuel, do you want to airdrop your answers to me?
No, we're too far.
Yeah, true.
I went 5 of 8, which pretty happy with, but I'm super mad because I wrote iBook and then I crossed it out.
Oh, that's tough.
And then just wrote wrote iPad, and I'm like, I don't think this is right, but educational. And I wasn't sure iBook was an actual thing.
iBook was an actual thing. Yeah, it was well before the iPad.
Pure guess.
So which ones did you not get there? Obviously iBook.
And then I missed number 4.
iMac?
Yes, I didn't get iMac. And then I didn't get the Apple one.
Let's see if I can do better in the sports round.
So today's sports round will be about one of the, most underappreciated parts of sports, the beloved mascot. We were lucky enough to go to the University of Cincinnati when the Cincinnati Bearcat was winning best mascot in the country at competitions all the time. So we'll see how Brendan does. You feeling good, Brendan? You ready?
I'm feeling pretty good. I got to have lunch with Mr. Redlegs not too long ago, back during opening day. He's not very talkative. I was a little disappointed.
They're not supposed to talk. That is the rule.
That was the joke, Sam. That was the joke I was trying to make there.
We don't make jokes. We do trivia on this podcast. So getting into trivia, starting with question number 1. The world mascot itself comes from the French word mascotte, meaning what? Hint. The answer is also a cereal brand whose mascot happens to be a leprechaun. Question number 2. What is the name for the both comedic yet terrifying mascot for the NHL's Philadelphia Flyers, who debuted in 2018? Question number 3. Name 2 of the 4 NFL teams that don't have a mascot. Question number 4. What animal is the highest paid mascot for the NBA, who you can find cheering on the Denver Nuggets? Question number 5. Last episode, we talked about an Arizona State Sun Devil, but can you name the other devilish mascot in college sports? Question number 6. Who was the first MLB mascot to appear in real life? He debuted when his team moved from the Polo Grounds to Shea Stadium in 1964. Question number 7. Javier Michael Babudar, also known as Chiefsaholic, was a Kansas City Chiefs superfan who attended games dressed similar to the team's mascot. He was arrested for robbing banks across the Midwest while allegedly wearing the same mask he would wear for games, which is of what animal? And finally, question number 8. What animal is the mascot for these schools? Northeastern, Washington, Connecticut. Give you a few seconds. Take off your mascot hands so that you can type in your answers. Looking at Brendan specifically, for those who are only listening to audio, he is dressed fully in the Who Day outfit for the Bengals. Let's get to some answers, starting with question number 1. The word mascot itself comes from the word mascotte in French, meaning what? And your hint was that it's a cereal brand whose mascot happens to be a leprechaun. His name would be Lucky, the mascot for Lucky Charm. Mascotte means Lucky Charm. Question number 2. What is the name for the both comedic yet terrifying mascot for the NHL's Philadelphia Flyers? He debuted in 2018. He was an internet sensation. He does some good dances. That would be Gritty. Question number 3. Name 2 of the 4 NFL teams that don't actually have a mascot. So that would be the New York teams, the Giants and the Jets, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Green Bay Packers.
I almost got all 4. I put the Titans. I forgot they have what is their actual mascot? Is it the sword? Or is it a guy in a helmet? It's a guy in a helmet. I forgot about the Packers. I don't know why. The Packers didn't even cross my mind. But I got both New York teams, and I got the Chargers.
Question number 4. What animal is the highest paid mascot for the NBA, who you can find cheering on the Denver Nuggets. That would be Rocky the mountain lion. We were looking for mountain lion. However, if you said cougar, they are technically the exact same animal, so I would accept cougar. But his name is Rocky the mountain lion. Question number 5. Last episode, we talked about an Arizona State Sun Devil, R.I.P. Pat Tillman, and I was looking for you to name the other devilish mascot in college sports. So I was looking for the Duke Blue Devil. If you said the Wake Forest Demon Deacon or the Northwestern State Demons and also the Lady Demons for them, I technically will accept those. However, Duke Blue Devil was the obvious and preferred answer, but my cousin went to Wake Forest, so Jack, if you're listening to this, there's your point. All right, question number 6. Who was the MLB's first mascot to appear in real life? He debuted when his team moved from the Polo Grounds to Shea Stadium in 1964. That would be Mr. Met of the New York Mets.
Boom, baby, I got it. Woo!
Iconic Mr. Met.
This is a lock. I got 8 of 8. That was the one. That and the NFL one, and I got both of those.
All right, question number 7. Mr. Chiefsaholic himself, Mr. Babudar, was a Kansas City fan. He attended games, dressed as the team's mascot, and then robbed banks wearing basically the exact same mask. He also had an amazing amount of Chiefs memorabilia when they arrested him. He would dress as a wolf. We're looking for a wolf mask, which, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of a terrifying mask if you imagine someone with a gun.
It's pretty freaky. Yeah. I mean, it's just scary without a gun. I think it's kind of just scary to see him in the stands.
I should have looked at the backstory. If I was a better trivia host, I would have looked up why they have a wolf. I don't exactly know, but
Like a lot of Native American culture has a lot of reverence for wolves, from what I understand. Not going to claim
That's
to be
true.
an expert, but just from what
I've seen Fantastic Mr. Fox.
True. Great movie.
Deep cut there for wolves. And finally, question number 8. What animal is the mascot for these schools? Northeastern, Washington, Connecticut. That would be the Huskies. If you didn't get that off of those, I'm not sure what to tell you. Northeastern is a premier engineering school in Boston. Great hockey program. Washington, obviously, they were just in the national championship a couple years ago. Connecticut won back-to-back natties in basketball. Granted, if you missed that one because you didn't know Connecticut with UConn, I mean, it's a sports round, so I'm kind of happy you missed it. But, Brendan, I think we all know how you did, given your reaction midway through that round.
Yeah, I got a perfect 8 of 8 there. Perfect. So, pretty happy with how that played out. That was a great round, Sam. That was a lot of fun.
So what was our total score there so far?
My Apple product is messing up. Our total score is 33 points. 33 out of 48 because we have not gotten to our bonus question yet.
Unfortunately, he didn't actually give me a question, so Mr. BS will have to wait for next week's bonus.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Luckily, my mom came through.
Nice.
So we're getting our bonus question from my mom. Who is the only person to sign the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Treaty of Paris?
I'm going to go with Benjamin Franklin.
That would be correct.
Boom, baby, let's go. I know my American history. Yeah. All right, nice. Shout out to Mrs. Ritze. So that brings us up to 35 out of 50. Let us know how you did at home. Tell us if you did better. Tell us if you did worse. It makes us feel better if you did worse than us. So, Sam, stuff. We got our bonus. Let's get into our stuff. You had a pretty busy weekend, the weekend before we were recording this.
Yes. So for those who listened to last week's episode, you know that I went up north to Wisconsin. I was there for a wedding. It was a lot of fun. There wasn't coffee there, so about midway through the beginning of dancing, me and 2 people left, went to Dunkin', drove through, got a gallon of coffee, came back. You know, we just got to be fueled up, ready to go for the dance floor. Normally, people will say that they need to get a few drinks, maybe get a little looser for the dance floor. I needed some energy. I needed some coffee. So we went for that. And then after that, I went up to the University of Minnesota, go Ghosts, Sky U Ma. And yeah, I was up there with some friends. It was a great time. Really just do love the Twin Cities. There's so much to do there. Went to the Nook, which is a lovely restaurant / bowling alley. It's a classic among some of me and Brendan's friends up there. And then drove back, saw the Quiznos, for those who looked at the story. I did not get anything. I was between eating Wendy's breakfast, which I also talked about last week, and then in Chicago, I went to a barbecue place with one of my former coworkers. Shout out to former coworkers if you listen to our old podcast. And it was great. It was great barbecue. I had brisket tacos and a peach cobbler that would have been amazing. It was great, but it would have been amazing if it was with peaches from Georgia. Sadly, the peaches were from Chicago, so they weren't very good. And then got back. So it was a great weekend, though.
Nice. Sounds
No
like a
disc
good
golf.
weekend.
No disc golf.
Yeah. Tell us about your map.
So we've got the painting up here. We'll put a little question in there. You can try and figure out. So just to give you this, you can guess which color is me is your question to guess for next week. I will reveal it in the next episode. Red, white, and blue are your options to guess which one I am. The wood colors are just unplayed states. So you get to guess if I am red, white, or blue. I may have said the scores in a previous episode. If so, that'll give you a 50% chance of getting it right. But that's your hint. So
Nice.
Brendan will also get to guess.
Yeah, I believe I know, but I'll have to see if I can remember. We'll put a picture of this up on the story too when this episode goes out, probably the next day or so after. So keep an eye on that. So again, reach out, let us know how you did with this week's episode. We will see you all again in 2 weeks. Until then, we'll be trying to be active on the social media on bs.trivia on Instagram at bs.trivia.
We want to give a shout out to Mr. BS, whose bonus question we will use next episode, for he figured out, totally intentional on our part, but so no one has cracked this yet, that BS also stands for bar style.
Exactly, because it's bar
we
style
definitely
trivia.
realized that.
We totally planned on that.
We definitely realized that.
Sandra,
definitely
you're pointing the
didn't
wrong way.
also
I'm
find
gonna be
that
on
out.
the other side of your frame. Just a heads up.
We
We
realized it.
I don't even know how I'm going to be. Hold on, I need to look at myself.
Totally.
We realized it.
We realized it
We-
before he texted.
we totally
Totally
realized it.
not while he totally not actively during this episode when he texted me. I didn't just immediately stop us and go, wait.
It wasn't then. No, it was well before that.
Shout out to Mr. BS himself.
Mr.
He will
BS.
make some more appearances with questions. We will not reveal his identity because I don't know if he wants that or not. But
If you want to be on the show, reach out. I've got open space here on my end.
or we can voice modulate you. So you
So
just-
we can put a sackcloth over your head and put a voice changer on and hide your identity if that's what you want.
if you want to see Mr. BS, you have to let us know.
Email us, wwcooler@gmail.com. Again, don't ask why the email is different. It's not important. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. And, we'll see you all in 2 weeks. And, Sam, do you have anything else to tell the people?
Just stay hydrated, everyone.
Stay hydrated. Bye-bye.